My biggest problem has been focus, and it's held me back in so many ways until I poured my Adderall down the drain and said, screw the doctors, I'm doing this my way. The more I studied mental productivity, the more I realized the less it is about the time you spend working on something, and it's more about how much time you spend in that focused state. Your ability to focus can be one of the biggest factors in your future success. How much money you make and how fulfilled you become. And the next 6 months can entirely shape your ability to control your state of focus. So if we want to increase our ability to focus, we have to look at where that stems from and how to maximize our ability to enter into that state. Now, there's a book about this called Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience. I'll include a link, but in this book, it explores the human state of flow, which is addressed as a state of mind in which a person becomes fully immersed in that activity. Imagine if you could spend an entire 6 hours in the state of flow. You'd be able to accomplish more than most people do in an entire week. I'll break down exactly how we can enter flow state in a shorter amount of time and remain in that state for longer periods. We have to start by looking at triggers, because triggers allow us to enter a specific state. We're so used to being triggered emotionally and becoming reactive, but these triggers can also work in the reverse. It's simply a stimulus that provides you a response that we then intentionally reverse engineer to create and gain more control over our minds, over our state, over flow state. I'm going to talk about the triggers that work fast and for almost every single person. Yes, even those with massive ADHD like me. In fact, when you can learn to control ADHD, it then becomes a superpower. As I reveal this and you listen to the sound of my voice, you might even notice yourself drifting into a deeper, more relaxed flow state. Or maybe not. But either way, the first trigger is intention. When you look at professional athletes, they have to get into a certain state of mind. They have to have intention. So let's use Tiger Woods for an example. He has to rapidly enter a state of flow in order to, let's just say, hit his last putt on the 18th hole for a birdie, or he gets second place. The stakes don't get much higher than that. One thing that Tiger Woods has practiced since he was a very little boy is visualization. It's common in almost every single world-class athlete. They visualize winning. They visualize winning the game, the championship, and the next play. Because in their mind, they set their specific and clear intention. The same goes for you, trying to get more out of your day. If you wake up in the morning, check your social media, and rush to get out the door, you're already losing the battle. You have no intention set for your day or even your next task. You'll find yourself in a reactive state, and when you're reactive, it's almost impossible to enter a flow state. If you sit down at your desk and immediately check your email, the same thing happens. You immediately place yourself into a reactive mode, and without any intention at all, you put yourself into a sympathetic fight or flight state. Your heart rate increases, your breath gets more shallow and faster. No wonder why it's hard to enter a flow state when you feel like that. However, if you set aside 2 minutes before you sit down, you think about your intention before you start working, and you set aside 10 minutes in the morning to set your entire intention for the day, you will maximize your ability to enter flow state. When you can reach flow state faster, you'll be able to achieve more in less time, and you'll be able to accomplish more than most people out there. So spending these few minutes, taking a deep breath, closing your eyes, and setting your intention, it will actually save you time. The best way I've found to do this is by using brain.fm. It's an app. I use it on my phone as well as my computer. It provides you with a calming binaural beat, and it's made a huge change and impact for me. I take a few deep breaths. I think about what I'm going to accomplish, why, and how I'm going to do that. And just by spending those 2 minutes before getting into my task, I've already entered the flow state. The second trigger for flow state is the task at hand. And there are 2 different types of tasks that can help you enter the flow state. The first is creative. So if you look at your entire day, there are certain things that are more creative and certain things that are less. You don't have to be an artist to have creative tasks, because creativity is a spectrum. And what you can do is think about all of the tasks that you do on a daily basis and identify which ones are more creative and which ones are less. Then you want to layer in the creative tasks when you start to feel your flow state drop. So let's say you have to build a website, which is pretty creative, and then you also have to work on some marketing campaigns and the analytics. Now, you probably want to start with your marketing campaigns first, but when you notice your flow state start to drop, you could switch over to a more creative task that allows your mind to run wild and ultimately get into that flow state. Now, the second type of task that can immediately trigger flow state is a challenging task. For instance, in the Tiger Woods example, even though he visualized how he's going to hit his putt, because of the intense pressure, it allows you to enter a flow state faster. Sometimes people are involved in a tragic event or a car accident, and they experience time slowing down because they're able to see things in slow motion since they're processing the fragments of reality differently. This doesn't mean that you put yourself in intense situations. It just goes to show that your brain will process things differently based on the different levels of stimulus. If, however, you can find things that are challenging by either giving yourself a deadline or choosing something that is just above your skill level, you'll be able to enter flow state faster. I'll give you an example. If you're working on a newsletter like I do every single week, and I'll include a link, so if you want to check it out, you absolutely can. But what I can do is instead of writing it throughout the week, I sit down with a 30-minute timer. And when I sit down, I set that timer up and I press go. That deadline alone allows me to enter a flow state because now I have to get it done. So when you have a task and you set a 30-minute timer, once it's up, go take a walk, get some fresh air, and then get back to work. It allows you to develop your ability to enter and exit flow state. This is how you see some entrepreneurs or creators accomplish so much. You see them posting online and wondering how they can create so much content or do so much. It's because they're able to enter flow state faster and stay there longer. The third trigger is purpose. Think about this. Sometimes people have children and all of a sudden they start to create financial success. They stop going out and drinking with their buddies. They get locked in and focus on their work. Why? Because they have a deeper sense of purpose for why they're doing their work, why they're staying late, why they're putting in the extra hours to get a promotion. That purpose provides a reason to get into that flow state and absolutely crush it. If you've ever watched the movie The Secret or read about the law of attraction, they often talk about a vision board. And a vision board doesn't work because someone cut out a picture of a Lambo or a beachfront mansion property and then it suddenly attracts that. It works because it reminds them every single day of why they're doing what they're doing. It reminds them of what they want, and it reminds them of their purpose. My suggestion is write down your goals. Take a look at them every day. Keep them close by and become clear on what your purpose is. Have it on your desk and remind yourself why you're doing the little tasks that you don't want to, but you have to. Now, the fourth trigger is environment. It makes sense that if you want to get into a deep work, you want to limit your distractions, but you'd be surprised. If you're used to studying at home, and then for whatever reason you can't focus, sometimes you'll get into a flow state if you go to a busy coffee shop and put on some headphones. And I'll explain, but the change in environment is enough to trick your mind into a flow state because it's a new environment. For example, I have 5 different locations I typically work at from home. And in each one of those locations, I usually take care of different tasks. I know where I usually read, where I work on editing, where I write, where I take Zoom calls, and where I handle daily operations. Putting myself into each environment triggers me to get into that flow state. But for some reason, if I can't focus that day, I can switch the location, and because it's a new environment, it'll allow me to get into flow state as well. Now, the 5th trigger will explain another reason why people, including myself, love working at coffee shops, and it's called body doubling. Harvard University's Center on Developing Children actually studied this and elaborated on how children with ADHD, which, let's be honest, we almost all have some form of it at this point, they lack focus because they often lack internal motivation to get that task done. But when they use body doubling, it provides motivation externally. Body doubling is simply the act of working side by side or with another person. You might both be working on two completely different tasks that have minimal interaction, if at all, but the simple fact that you see another person provides you motivation to stay focused because you subconsciously see them getting work done in your peripheral. I didn't know until I found out about this, but it's one of the reasons I absolutely love going to different coffee shops and body doubling with other people. I can throw some headphones on and get my most challenging tasks done. I made another video on my channel about my typical work routine because I was diagnosed with ADHD at an early age, but I finally got to the point where I poured my medication down the toilet, dealt with it on my own, and now I can focus more than ever before. So if you want to watch that, go ahead and check it out. But I hope that this video was somehow helpful or useful to you, and if you like the video, feel free to subscribe. I have one last tip though. For something that has allowed me to enter flow state way more rapidly, and it's weird, but it's smell. Not the bad smell, but the good smell. Who knows, maybe this also has something to do with the coffee shop, but I'm talking about when I'm at home and I'm lighting a candle and incense, some sage, some Palo Santo, or even some oils. I do keep these chapstick size oils in my pocket with the winter mint or lavender from a company called Boom Boom. And I sit down, I take a big inhale from each side of my nostril, and for whatever reason, the stimulus to my olfactory system triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, which slows my heart rate, calms me down, and allows me to enter flow state faster. From my heart to yours, thank you so much for watching. Keep scrolling with intention, and remember, you got this.